It's been just under a year since Dead Space kind of came out of nowhere and really delivered a great, intense sci-fi horror shooting experience. Now EA is already back with a new Dead Space game called Extraction. This one's only on the Wii, and it's less of a full-on third-person shooter like the first game was, and more of a guided experience. And of course, when I say guided experience, I mean light gun shooter. But it's a good light gun shooter. It's got enough exciting moments and some quality, dramatic production values to really make it worth shooting your way through the short but fairly exciting campaign here. Extraction serves as a prequel to the first Dead Space, and it really starts out right at the beginning with the excavation of the Marker, which is the sinister artifact that kind of kicks off the space monster invasion you saw in the first game. You'll fight through both the colony on Aegis 7 and then, of course, the enormous mining ship, the USG Ishimura. Unlike the first game, this one actually switches between several different survivors who are all trying to escape the Calamity together. So you've got a pretty good mix of environments and perspectives as you go. The story mode's only about 5 or 6 hours long, and it does end a little abruptly without the epic climax that it seems to be building toward, but it is entertaining enough while it lasts. Now, you're definitely going to get the most out of Extraction if you played the first Dead Space. EA did a good job of connecting the art style, the sound design, and all the other little production elements to the first game to tie both of these into the same franchise. Of course, this one doesn't look quite as good as the first one, but the developers have really made the most of the Wii's horsepower here, along with some smart camera work, to create an exciting thrill ride through the infested bowels of the Ishimura. Just like in the first game, the shooting here focuses on over-the-top dismemberment. You kill enemies a lot faster by shooting their arms, legs, and heads off, and there's a nice assortment of weapons here, most of them straight out of the original game, to do that with. As a light gun game, of course, you've got the requisite two-player co-op feature, though it really just adds a second crosshair to the screen and doesn't actually change the storyline or the presentation in any meaningful way. You can also check off a short little list of other Dead Space-oriented features that EA has packed into this game. You've got the stasis and kinesis modules from the first game, and these let you sort of lightly interact with some environmental puzzles here and also play a small role in combat. You need to hack computer terminals from time to time by tracing circuits with the pointer with the Wii remote, and there are even weapon upgrades and some character progression as you make your way through the story. But all of these elements have been sort of dumbed down or automated in different ways to fit in with that fast-moving guided experience, which never really slows down to let you smell the roses or the blood and guts. And that's really the rub here. However well-made Extraction is, it's still a light gun game, and that means that you're really along for the ride more than you're in control of it. And as good as that ride is, it's going to be more or less the same every time you play it, so you probably won't want to play through it more than once. You can also unlock a few challenge levels that are focused on pure shooting, and there are a few animated comic book sequences to pad out the storyline a little bit, but the sum total of the content in Extraction does feel a little thin at full price. When you get right down to it, it was probably a smart move to make this style of game instead of trying to shoehorn the original Dead Space onto the Wii. Extraction plays to the strengths of the console, and while it's not as satisfying as a full-on Dead Space sequel would be, it's also not a bad way to tide yourself over until then.
We'll just have to wait.
Wait? For how long?